G'day everyone, it's Danny from the ProdigyFanboy.com, and I'm here with the author of the latest Prodigy book, Weird Rhythm, Martin James. Martin, welcome.
Hi.
Awesome. So I'll get straight into it. So I wanted to start off with, because I feel like with every album release, the Prodigy have, there's a new generation of fans coming into the scene. So for those fans who may not know about you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your relationship with the Prodigy?
Right, I'm an old man, so I'll shorten the story quite a lot for you. I was a music journalist. I was a music journalist throughout the 90s, writing for magazines like Melody Maker, and I helped set up Music Magazine, which is a great dance music mag. And because of that, I ended up getting to know a lot of people, and the Prodigy were among those. Ironically, I first met Liam at a rave before I was a journalist. This is another story. Yeah. And my connection with the Prodigy was me and Liam just got on really well, just really, really quickly. And I've always been very honest with him, you know.
Yeah.
And it's that's kind of a good relationship where I can say I don't like this tune, and this is why I don't like this tune. Generally, I like them, so I don't have to. So we just connected, and a friendship grew. I wrote a book. So the first version called Adventures with the Voodoo Crew.
Yeah.
I started writing it the day after my first daughter was born. So as you imagine, it was a little bit loved up and happy, and everything was great with the world. And although it was a nice book, but it felt really rushed to me. So then a few years later, a publisher asked me if I'd do another version for them. Which I did, which is called Prodigy, and much more in depth. Much happy with that book. I thought it was just really got what I wanted to say. And even though the book was only supposed to have sold, according to my records, 1,000 copies, it's still on sale, or it was still on sale until a few years ago. Nobody ever got paid, so I didn't get paid. None of the photographers got paid, and that kind of felt all very wrong. So quite a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I started putting out the idea of doing a third book, and everything updated. So it took a long time for the technology to allow people to actually do books in a way that was cost effective.
Yeah.
So now, finally, technology, everything caught up with us. So I was working on this book, and I was talking to Liam about us doing it together, and then decided no, keep doing it on your own. But the agreement was, so I didn't clash with any campaigns, that I only do the first book again, adding new stuff to it, new material to it, and then part two, which is the post 2000. The Invaders story forward. Yeah. That's part two, and then that book's being worked on at the moment, hopefully out in a year. But this is an agreement with the band. The irony is, of course, I've hit a campaign full on because nobody expected No Tourists to happen.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up a bit later on. Because you've got the new book. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of it. It's a great thing about that. I mean, it's the kind of book as a writer that you dream of doing, because it's all the design, all the photos, everything is exactly. I've had control over it. I've worked really closely with the designer. She's been amazing. You've had Gears has given me loads of snapshots of them backstage. Who lives in Australia as well. She's given me some snapshots. I've got loads of fan art, and I think it just really represents them far better. I'm really, really proud of it, I've got to say.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, this is your first self-published Prodigy book. Is that right? Because you've self-published books in the past, but this is the first Prodigy one.
No, this is my first self-published.
Oh, altogether.
Altogether, it's my first self-published.
Oh, okay.
Every other book I've published has been on a major publishing company.
Oh, okay. So can you tell us a bit about that process? Like, what was that process like, and is it something you would do again?
I'm only 21. Look at the state of me now. Oh, mate, what a process. Oh, God. If it's a great learning curve. There were things I never imagined would go wrong. I think one of the biggest things that went wrong and the most upsetting thing was a group of graph artists got together and created this really beautiful representation of the early years of the Prodigy. And a photographer came forward and said, "You can't use that. If you publish, I'll sue." And by the law, yeah, he was right. They hadn't got permission to use the photograph, and I didn't know about that law at this stage. I know all about the law of copyright for writing, but I never knew that if an artist bases a painting on a photograph, they're breaking copyright law. So there was a point, which actually lasted quite a long time, where it was looking like the whole thing was shut down with people getting sued, and that was difficult. That then meant I had to go back over the whole book again and make sure that everything was sorted. And I mean, luckily, all the photographers are really behind the project and have been since day one. So I'm working with these guys for years. It was just this one guy, and in the end, he wouldn't let me use the photograph because he'd said that Liam didn't like the photograph because Liam was very ill in the picture, and Liam had asked for him never to use it again. And the irony of that is that Liam, I spoke to Liam about it only last month, and he said, "I wouldn't have minded. Do you want me to?" But so this guy, the photographer, he ends up being a nice guy. You know, he supplied some really great photos for the book. He kind of misunderstood what the project was about, and he's kind of on side. But I now need to get back to him and tell him, do you know, Liam says this is fine, and here's Liam's number. He's happy to talk to you about it, or here's Liam's email. Happy to talk to you about it.
Now, a big part of his book is the interaction with the fans. How did that idea come about for this book?
Well, you know, there was always fan interaction in every version. I've always had small interviews with fans. The fan interaction is actually going to be far more in the second book, because I think the fan relationship changes. With social media, the whole fan relationship's changed, and now the fans are integral to what the Prodigy's about. In the earlier books, it was much more distant. You know, the band could be almost unaware of the fans beyond the fact that they'd see them on stage, and some of them would sometimes sneak back to the hotel, find out where they're staying. Wait until the sky goes high.
That's so good.
That's all right. But now they can't avoid the fans. The fans are really vocal, really in your face, and they've got amazing stories to tell. So eventually, my hope is that when the two books come together, people will see the fans going from being ravers to being people watching the gigs to eventually being integral to the story. So it's a long narrative. And I've got some amazing stories from fans that in fact, I'm working on a piece with DJ magazine right now, which is all about the fan involvement.
Yeah.
Now, the great things was getting fans sending their photographs and things like that was a really great thing. You know, I added a new dimension to the book as well.
Yeah. What was it like for you to? Because like for me, when I read other stories shared by fans, it makes me feel really like a connection, and make me feel really good and proud of the band. What was it like for you going through all those stories?
It's quite humbling, actually. You know, it's made me realise what a privileged position I'm in. You know, some of these guys would pay dearly to be able to go in here and do every new album in Liam's studio and sit with him as he goes through that. You know, I take it for granted. As a journalist, this was my life. This was normal. And those stories really kind of made me realise how privileged I am. But also, there was a connection there, because I kind of understood that everybody's got this really personal connection with the band, and for me, that personal connection through the rave scene, but also the fact that I was in Paris when my wife went into labour, and my daughter was born. I was in Paris with the band. My daughter was born the next day, and she's a Prodigy baby. She's 21, and she still goes back, hangs out backstage, and they're fantastic. They're lovely to her. So it's become this, on a personal level, like this personal family connection. Him sponsoring my son's football team, he didn't need to do that. That was just really a really friendly gesture, and that's kind of a side that sometimes doesn't really come out in the interviews about Liam. He's a good guy, So I've got that. But then reading the fan stories, everybody's got their own, perhaps not as close, but they've got their own personal connection. That moment where they hear No Good start the dance, and they connect with it, or everybody's got their tune and they connect with it and go, oh my God, that's it. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's right. And you're completely right about that, like family feeling, friendship with the band. Because I actually feel like I have that connection too. And like I don't feel like a lot of the general public or fans know about that. About the band, but they're actually really, really cool like that.
Yeah. I love the fact that. Sorry, I was going to say, I love the fact that you've seen lots and lots of the fans now have babies, and those babies in their Prodigy baby grows and Prodigy t-shirts. I think that's great.
Oh yeah, man. Well, that's just when I had my daughter, she's 1.5 now, but the band actually sent clothes for her. Oh, because we chat, by email, and they know everything that's going on, and. Yeah, and my daughter now, she's a fan because that's pretty much the only music I play.
Yeah.
So she's a Prodigy baby too.
Oh, fantastic.
Did you have any issues? Because the fans had to send in the pictures for the book and stories as well. With just self-publishing and all that. Like, was there any issues like putting that into the book? And how did all that work?
Well, there was. How did it work? The fan stories, in terms of copyright and legal side, as soon as somebody sends you a story with its immediate permission to publish, as long as I cite them, as long as I reference who's made the quote. The photographs was a different issue because there was two types of photographs. There was one where people with the original campaign backing the project, and it was one of the things they could do was ensure you've got a photograph in the book by your place and guarantee you're going to be in the book, which is, I'm trying to fund a project and because we didn't have a publishing company, I had to use every trick I could to get it going. And it was great because it's ended up, you've got a couple of pages of photographs of fans, of which you're in there.
Awesome.
and with their little stories underneath. It's really special. It's a really, really nice thing. Yeah. Again, as soon as the picture is delivered, the copyright is agreed. It's not it's implicit in the fact that it's been sent in. The biggest problem I had was trying to get fans to send photographs that were high enough resolution.
Yeah, I can imagine because it's just putting it into if you do whatever size, and it's all pixelated. That's an issue for sure.
Possibly one of the problems I had was there were so many amazing stories like how am I going to use these, and it's just when I started mapping them out and I was saying, well, there is actually a long narrative here, and this is it becomes more and more dominant. From Invaders, especially, it's just changes. It's just so social media driven.
Yeah.
And those stories are just going to become central and more central. In fact, the last chapter of the next book is purely about fandom.
Oh, awesome. Now I want to ask you about the book's cover. What made you go with the final decision of the 2002 logo, which is, awesome choice? Because I think you threw out one or two designs on a Facebook page, but how many designs did you go through, and how hard was it choosing that cover?
I think we went through about 4,000 designs. It's not actually the logo. It's an approximation of the logo.
Yep, yep.
The band owned the rights to the logo, and rather than have any, and it could put anybody into awkward situations, awkward positions, bearing in mind that John and Nick and all management are all my friends as well.
Yeah.
So we did an approximation of the logo, as we did on the last book as well. It just, when I saw it, and I was looking at Baby's Got a Temperament, this would work. This would work on the square book. And the designer messed around with a few ideas. And that's when I said, look, what, black on black? Let's just forget about trying to get images in there. It's a hardback book. It's not got a dust cover, dust jacket. It's a hardback. So let's do a gloss in imprint, effectively. And I'm blown away. I love it. Absolutely love it.
I reckon it looks neat as, and I can't wait to actually have it in my hands.
Yeah. The international mail out's been a bit slow. I've had the first batch have been returned from customs because I filled out the customs form was wrong. Yeah. So in the system again.
That's all good.
It's a learning curve. And the other big problem is, of course, it's me. I'm not Amazon, and people who have got Amazon. So I want this in 24 hours or same day, and I'm like coming home from a full day at work. I get home at 7 p.m, and I open a book and I sign it and I wait for the ink to dry and I close it and I stamp it, put the number on. I wait the ink to dry and close it. I write out the envelope, put the envelope in, get the letter, sign it, letter in, seal it up, tape it up. Each book's taking 20 minutes.
Nice.
So I keep looking at these piles of books going, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, my daughter helps as well, but she's got a job as well, so she's been trying to help. But yeah.
She's posting them out, right? Yeah.
She's doing some of it. She's doing as much as she can. Again, she's got a job. So.
Yeah. And it's only a few more weeks. I mean, it has been a few years now, not by choice, because you originally planned to have it out in 2017, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a few more weeks won't hurt anyway.
It was, like I said, the copyright was a major issue. There were a few things that, one of the things about the internet age is that people have become much more aware of their involvement in these projects. So they know how things will share and how things will spread. So a lot of people who agreed to be interviewed then said, I'm not sure, I better check, I'm not sure. And even some guys who had been interviewed turned around and said, look, I'm really worried about, don't print that, don't publish that. And so it ends up being interviews with people saying, yeah, I know Liam, or yeah, I know Axon, but what we want is the stories. And then I had an amazing interview with Gears, which I'll be honest with you, was too frank. He was too honest.
Okay.
And I looked at it, and I originally had this huge thing, and I read it back, and I sent it to my lawyers, and my lawyers sat on with it for about 3 months, and came back, no, don't publish that.
Yeah. Jeez. Nice.
And so putting my lawyers I just hint at what happened about contracts, but Gears went into so much depth about the contracts and was reading through this contract for me, and then he sent it to me, and I'm like, well, if this was a different kind of book, this would be gold dust.
Yeah.
But I don't want to piss people off here. And I don't think fans want to know that there are contracts, but there are contracts. It's a business.
Yeah. So once you had the final copy, how did it work? Did Liam read through the whole thing as well? And, what feedback how was the process with Liam?
Okay, well, first of all, I sent a digital copy by WeTransfer to Nick in March, and didn't hear anything from him. And the link then died because he didn't download it.
Yeah, okay.
I can't hang on any longer, so we're ready to. So I found we had this big, very long process about finding printers. In the time we first announced the book, the cost of paper went up, the cost of transport went up, everything's gone through the roof. So, and we had to try and find printers around the world how we can do this. So you've got a situation now where this book's got a carbon footprint. I can tell you, it's printed in Turkey. The covers printed in China. Then it's brought back to the UK to be finished in Oxford, and then it's shipped down to my house, and then it's being sent on airplanes back to Australia.
Yeah.
It's the cheapest way of doing it. So that process. Liam first saw the book in its entirety when I had that dummy version, the early proof version that I put online. Yeah. That was at the Victoria show in Portsmouth at the end of August. So that's the first time he saw it.
Okay. Oh, not long ago.
Not long ago. So he was blown away by it. He loved it. There's an element of trust there. So they all knew that I want to do something that the fans will want, and people will be really happy to have, and that we'll all be proud of. Yeah. It doesn't matter that it's not official. I still do their official biographies every time an album comes out. But it still had to feel like it's a part of the Prodigy. It still had to feel it was right. I hate these books that just quickly turn that around and they've got no soul to them. This had to feel right. So he saw it very late, and he hasn't read it yet. But he read the first version, and he read the second version, and he'll read this one, and he'll disagree with some of it, and he'll say some people are complete twats for what they said. Because it does. Because that's Liam.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned earlier, that this is part of a 2-book series. With We Live for Beats, is that now confirmed to cover No Tourists, that era as well?
Yeah, that's going to go all the way up until the point. Well, there's not going to be anything else after No Tourists in this book. Yeah. Otherwise, I keep extending it. He's going to put out another 2 or 3 EPs probably. There's a point where I say you have to stop now. Yeah. But it will cover that because actually it's a really interesting story, and there's lots of kind of interesting stuff that's gone in the background. The part 2 is a really different story because effectively they're a different band now. The first one's all about the young guys getting together and growing. Second is about how they become a business, and the growing pains around about all outnumbered. That's about it becoming a business.
Yeah. I really noticed.
Sorry.
I really noticed that change. Actually, when Leroy sort of left the group, and it went from the band went from this dance stage show to more of a light show, and I think that's when that change actually kicked in.
Yeah. The big change there, of course, was that Liam had to reassert himself, or felt he had to reassert himself. And I was at a pub quiz, right? I was at a pub.
Okay.
And there was an album covers round, and it had always outnumbered as the album cover, and you had to, for 1 point, name the band, and for 2 points, name the members of the band. And so I just put Liam Howlett. And when they're reading the answers out, and he read the full name, and I said, I've got to complain. But actually, at this point, it was only Liam Howlett. The other 2 weren't in the band.
Oh, really? Jeez.
There was no thing, but you've got a situation there. I read it as Liam's trying to work out whether he can be the Prodigy on his own. He wants to reassert that feeling that he had back in the day when he was making music in his bedroom in his dad's house, taking acid and making tunes, and he was trying to rediscover that feeling, and whether he really needed Keith and Maxim in the future of the Prodigy. I think it came to a happy understanding, but he had to go through that phase. So effectively, at that point, as far as I understand it, they hadn't even heard the tracks before the other 2 before it was announced.
Yeah, that's right. I think that was the case.
Keith coming around to the house and hearing Spitfire and going, "Oh, really? I wish I'd sung on that track. I wish I'd been on that track."
Yeah.
And then there's a weird thing for me that I know that Liam was phoning me up during that process of making that album and playing me tunes down the phone. So I'm hearing these tunes before Keith, and I'm not saying that's great for me, but
Yeah, it's so odd.
there's a really strange period, but actually a really important period, because for me that is the most telling biographical record. That's a really important album. And without that album, you wouldn't get where they've gone to.
Oh yeah, that was such a funny time in the band. Like, there's so many stories about that era, and I can't wait until you cover it in that book, man. Because because a lot of the fans, they still stick to that era. They always ask questions about that era, and it's sort of been like deleted. You can't find any live videos on the internet or anything like that. It's been wiped off. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Again, I was talking to Liam about this last week, and he was saying that he can't listen to the record without being reminded of what was a really difficult time.
Yeah.
And these strong friendships being tested, and they've got through that because they were strong friendships. But he hears bad vibes now. I hear a brilliant album.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I hate what Emily Lazar did to it in the mastering process. It's just too loud. Yeah. So it's got no. He just distorts everything. But the album itself, the production on it is insane. That production is incredible.
Yeah, it sure is, man. And especially for that, there's always that rumor going around that there was a version 1 of the record, and that got scrapped. And fans keep asking for that version 1 because they believe that we believe that that's probably better than the one that was released. It's not okay.
It's too like one. How should I put this? It's just really sad that No Souvenirs has become this holy grail of a track.
Yeah.
Because of what I wrote. To be frank, I was the only person who wrote about it, and it got into the fan community. This amazing tune, No Souvenirs. Now, what people got to remember is when I'm writing, imagine being a fan, and you're sitting in Liam's car. You're a friend, but you love his music, but you're also a fan of Massive Attack. And we're all friends. We all know each other. And Liam says, "Do you want to hear the tune?" And it's also produced by another one of my friends. So I've got this triple thrill of excitement going. Oh my God, this happens when my mates come together. And there was like 2 or 3 versions in the car, and I think this is so cool. This is such a great tune. This is so brilliant, and I had massive hopes for it. I'll be honest, the other tunes, they were all that. They weren't great, and he was very over aware of being doing Fat of the Land 2, but it was also he was in awe of too much going on. He was too aware of other things at the time. So there was far too much Death in Vegas in there. There was too much Massive Attack, and so you could sense his influences right at that point. Too much, and those and they weren't really finished either. They're not great, and the later version. Later things use the same samples and the same beats are better.
Okay.
It was the right decision.
Okay. All right. So hopefully we can put that to rest.
No, people still want it, and I understand that. It's like the extra tracks on Outnumbered. Everybody wants to know what the surrounding technology actually sound like, and what happens to the Cool Keith vocal, the full Cool Keith vocal. They're okay. They weren't the world on fire. They were fillers. And it wasn't his greatest performance, to be fair. His cadence was all wrong.
Okay. Gee. Yeah, I just feel like we sort of hold on to those unreleased tracks because for forever we didn't have Voodoo Beats. Once we got it, we stopped talking about it. And No Souvenirs is sort of in that category. Because I'm actually surprised though, because I thought he'd touch it up, to feel more, I guess, current. And I thought it would be No Tourists because there's No Tourists, No Souvenirs. And I started talking about it, and then Yeah, that sort of backfired.
Well, you know, it's he did do a version of it for Outnumbered. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
And I agree with him that All Saints Pure Shores is much better.
Oh, jeez. You know, I actually have this theory because it was sort of around the same time that the reason he didn't actually release it was because of Pure Shores. He didn't want to. I feel like he didn't want to overshadow that.
Not, I think they realised it might be overshadowed.
Yeah.
It was the strongest song on the soundtrack, and
Yeah.
you don't want to disappear on quite a weak soundtrack. And I think it would have been a very big tune for the Prodigy fans, but it wouldn't have reached beyond Prodigy fans necessarily. Now, there are elements of it that have snuck into other tunes.
Okay.
So this is the other thing that all these unreleased tracks, if they ever do see the light of day, fans are just going to sit there going, "Oh my God, we've already heard this. This is."
I see. Yeah.
The element that we haven't, there are a few bits on it, but there's like this little guitar riff that one of Liam's one note guitar riffs that he does, like on Breathe.
Yeah.
It starts like that. It starts like, and it's something that's been used since vocals have been used, and even now it's a very unusual Massive Attack 3D singing harmony. In like a psychedelic thing, which was very unlike anything he had done before. So maybe 3D didn't want it to come out as well.
Yeah.
Rob.
How do you think that, how has the band evolved over all this time, and have any of your views or opinions changed since your first book? That's a loaded question, sorry.
That's the question. It's not going to be very popular with fans, I think. I think when you take, we now have 7 albums. Okay, well, this is a bit unfair. I'm telling you this from a 7-album perspective, so I've heard Notorious say. The album in the trajectory that doesn't fit is Fat of the Land. Everything but Fat of the Land has had its foot in the underground.
Yeah.
It's been about production parameters. It's been stretching. Fat of the Land is the only album that really feels like it was created for the radio, with radio in mind. I know Liam didn't do that, but I think after the pressure of Firestarter, I think Firestarter's success really shaped that album, and I think it's a really commercial album. I understand why people love it so much.
Yeah.
For me, following them, there was an initial change in the kind of people who were coming to the gigs. So you were ravers, to suddenly you have the rock crew, but you also had a lot of people who were just there for Breathe and Firestarter.
Yeah.
Felt really good for me, because you go to a Prodigy gig for the immersive experience.
Yeah.
What I love about now, you go to those gigs, and I'm too old now, to get stuck in, but when Maxim says everybody get down, my Prodigy people. And I look around, and I'm a bit further back, and I look around me, and there's loads of my guys, my generation. We're not getting down because we'll never get. But you also notice that Maxim's not getting down either.
Yeah.
But you go down the front, sometimes I watch from the stage, and it is mayhem. It's insane. It's incredible, and it's a new wave of fans who are there for the experience again. So it's kind of like it's kind of the same immersive thing of the rave days. We're just totally into this. It's just this whole experience. And now it's back. It's not raving anymore. It's moshing.
Yeah, but definitely.
An immersive experience. And there's this point in the middle, the Coachella years, that point, the Fat of the Land years, which kind of, people look back fondly, and I miss Leroy massively on stage, and but there was something about fitting in with festivals, fitting in with what was going on around them, and to me it feels like a really commercial album now, where every other album feels like a real force forwards. Although I will stick with Diesel Power being one of the most incredible tracks he ever wrote.
Oh yeah, I love Diesel Power.
Now, to be clear, I do listen. I still love Battle of the Land. The other thing is, and I'm maintaining what I said in the book, it's too short. It's one song too short, and Fuel My Fire is horrendous. You should just terrible, rubbish. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
One Man Army would have been better.
Oh yeah, definitely. Have you listened to No Tourists?
Yeah.
In full.
In full. So I get a call. So in beginning of August, I got a call to say, can I come up to Liam's studio to sit and listen to the album? And I was supposed to be going on holiday that day, so I delayed my holiday.
Okay.
I went to the studio, and it's an interesting experience because again you've got the fanboy stuff side of me that's sitting there. It still doesn't go away. I'm sitting in Liam's studio and I'm about to hear the album. Oh my god!
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
So the last album brought me out the original artwork for the album cover and going, what do you think of this? And I go, oh fuck, man, this is amazing. I love it. Picture. And so you've got this sense of I'm hearing this music how Liam heard the music. Because it was effectively mixed in that studio. He put it together. There's no involvement from other people this time. He's got an engineer that works with him. But it's Liam, this album. And so I'm hearing it in that state through those speakers with that screen in front of me and clicking the buttons, clicking the tracks.
Amazing.
And the way we do it is I listen to it and I ask him questions about each tune and then I listen to it all the way through again. And then kind of then I have to work out my thoughts and write a biography for it. So there's a biography that's doing the rounds at the moment, and part of the main thing for this one was trying to make it very clear that No Tourist is about not being a watcher, not being a who stands by and watches things, not going for the easy life. There are talkers and there are doers in the world. Well, this is about the doers in the world who get up off their backside and go for it rather than just sitting and streaming everything and not actually being engaged or taking the difficult road. Yeah. So it's quite a positive message, I think, this album. I can't tell you about any of the unreleased tracks.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Obviously, you can't chat about those tracks. What are your thoughts on Need Someone and Light Up the Sky?
Well, Need Someone is an interesting track. I know it's getting a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah.
What I think is really interesting is that it reaches back to the old school. It's got that massive old school vibe to it, but also it feels like it's really fast, but the beat is actually slow. It's the slowest tune that they've released in a long time. Okay. And so it's kind of unusual. It's kind of stretching your head in different directions. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard it, and that was, so that had been announced released before I heard the whole album. And I was like, well, okay, this doesn't feel like a massive step forward. This doesn't feel amazing. In the context of the album, this really works. It really works.
I'll be honest, when I first heard it, I just feel like for a first track being released, I just feel like it's got to be something big. And not to say that it's not big, but it's grown on me, I would say that.
It's a statement. It's a really brave statement. Light the Sky would have been the obvious choice.
Yeah.
It's the first track, first single. In fact, the obvious choice would have been one of the tracks with Keith and Maxim.
Okay. Awesome.
Or Maxim, a vocal led track. That would have been a more obvious track choice. And actually, you might not be able to put that in. You might have to cut that out.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I'll cut that out, actually.
So, Light of the Sky would have made a lot more sense to release first because it had a lot of the recognisable Prodigy hook in it.
Oh, it does, really.
Old school in there. It's got that analog synth intro, which sounds like it's straight out of Back to the Future. You almost imagine he's on playing air guitar on it. It's been intense. But it's got all the elements in there, and it's just a tune. It's just, as soon as I heard it, it's a tune, and I want to play it in the car. And that's always a big thing for me. If I want to play it in the car, that's a tune.
Yeah, man. Like, that's the track I'm playing on repeat in the car with my windows down.
Exactly.
So,
Listen to this. Oh my god. Oh my god.
yeah,
And obviously I can't tell you any details about the rest of the album, but what I will say is we know the length of the songs that's been released.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's an 10-track short album. It
yeah.
is. I think it is his most purely distilled, cleanly defined
Yeah.
Prodigy album. It's got everything in there that you want,
Awesome.
but not overloaded. And it's raw,
Okay.
and it feels like a great punk album. But a punk album you can groove to, you can dance to. There's the old school and the new school, and it's complete. The production, as always, is just next level. I mean, I think there's something really bothers me about that. People don't talk enough about Liam's production.
Yeah.
He pushes so many parameters. He's doing some clever stuff on this.
Yeah.
And, you know, people complain, oh yeah, he's just using patches. He's not just using patches. You know, oh my God, he used Reason on one of the albums. Yeah, just to note. And I kind of hear stuff, and sometimes I'm gobsmacked at how did you do that? And just the idea that how he chops and reverses beats in really unusual places. And yeah, and you can see, I think about one of the things about the fans are always saying, when are we going to hear this beat and that beat? Well, he's just testing things live. So he's trying it out, and you're never going to hear that live version apart from the YouTube clip. And because in its raw sense that what he's testing out live, it ain't as good as what he does. It's not as messed up as what he does when he's actually working on the thing.
Yeah, because it's like when you hear it for the first time, you sort of fall in love with that first time play. You know what I mean? And when it gets released, fans are usually not happy. But anyway.
Yeah, I get that feeling. You know, I'll be honest with you. When I went to listen to the last album, I felt really disappointed. I just felt like it was everything turned to 11 with too many people involved, and it didn't. I think there's some great tunes on there. There's actually one or two of my favourites on there, but it kind of felt like it didn't have as much the punch that he thought it had. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
Some of the edges felt too smoothed off.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, I love Tim Hutton's voice, and I think he really adds something in there. But some of the perhaps it happened at the mastering stage, the EQing, the mastering stage, or the post production. I don't know, but some of those production edges felt too smoothed off for me, and so and I'm not the greatest fan, the biggest fans of the straightforward. Nasty type rock songs. Yeah, that's. I like them, but in context, I don't. And there's too many of those for me on the last album.
Yeah. Now with going back to Weird Rhythm, from what I understand, you've got a last batch going out. They're up for sale.
Okay, so I'm getting it printed in batches. So you know, in reality, the original funding thing is paid for designer, is paid for proofreaders, is paid for photography, is paid for all a range of different things. So it didn't pay for the books. Okay. So I can only afford to print up in batches. So each batch is of 150. So the first batch went out. The backers get theirs, and then the pre-release guys are getting theirs, and then the next batch is being sold. What's being lost in translation here is that after that 1,000, there'll never be any more of this version of the book.
So that's definite.
That is 100%. What I am planning on doing is when I've got both books. So next book will be exactly the same format, same sort of style cover. It might be purple
Okay.
rather than black. And we're going to have a box they go into
Yeah.
and keep them nice as collector's pieces. And when that's gone, we're going to put them both together as a paperback that's only available print on demand. Now, some of the photographs, I won't be able to use some of the photographs because I haven't got the license for them for a paperback version. So it won't be exactly the same. It'll be slightly different. Probably won't be, and it won't be as high quality as well. But this is for those fans who buy Fat the Land and they still want a book for Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I'd want everything. I'd end up buying it as well. But
Yeah. So where can fans buy the current batches of books that are going out? Where can fans jump onto?
okay, so you can only get them via social media. So they're not going into shops. It's not going to go to Amazon. So you go to my page on social media on Facebook. Instantly forgets what it's called.
It's all right. I'll link it up in this video.
There's a website which is subpub.co.uk, I think.
Yep.
Listen, I don't know. I'm really bad at that stuff.
That's all right. We'll link it up in the video.
And also, I wish to always link with with you know, guys like you and the fan groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
And the problem is with the fan groups is that you're talking to the same small group of people all the time.
Yeah.
And I get messages from people I didn't even know about this. I said, oh my God, it's been 2.5 years in the making.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy.
I mean, the message is it hasn't sold out, and you'll know when it's getting close to selling out because I'll start posting constantly and sending messages out saying that we've got 10 copies left.
Yeah.
It'll be like that. It's of course I didn't plan to put it out at the same time as the Prodigy put out a new album with all their bundles, and they get the expense of going on tour.
Yeah.
I understand. I've got a lot of guys saying to me, I can't afford it at the moment. So don't panic. Don't worry. Don't panic.
Yeah.
I can't necessarily save them, but I know I'll still have some left in January.
After these batches sold out, would there be an ebook available or anything like that in future?
Yeah. When the second book goes, we'll do an ebook of both. I was going to do an ebook of this one, and I offered it actually, but looking at it, kind of felt it cheapened the project a little bit. So I want people to get it to feel like they've got something. You know, when I was a journalist and I'd get an album sent through about 6 months in advance on a watermark demo thing, or it's burned for me, and that sense of, you know, I've got this really rare thing, and it's an amazing feeling. I want fans to have that sense that when they get it, they're one of the few people that have got this, but the band haven't even got their copies yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally know that feeling because like now when the new album comes out, you know, I'm obviously just gonna buy it on everything, but I feel like if I buy it off iTunes, it's not the same feeling as holding the actual album in my hands and listening to it. It's such a different feeling. You know, it's a whole different experience.
This is a really, you can't get more old school than a hardback book.
Yeah.
And there's a great post from a fan, Marcus Witt, Kiwi. He's got a picture of his mum took of him holding the book, and his mum's comment was, "What, you and a book?" Which I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
The fact that I know that a lot of people don't read a lot, but they're actually reading this and enjoying it.
That's funny. Do you have any messages you want to share with the fans who backed the project on Indiegogo?
I'm eternally grateful to everybody who backed the whole project, because, you know, it was a very difficult project, and hit a point which was really, really hard, where I was about to sack it all. I was about to say that enough's enough. Here's your back. I can't do this. And it was those same backers who supported me. You know, there's people coming back and saying, you can do this. And just, it got quite difficult as well, because I felt like I'm really letting people down here. It's you know, I said before, people maybe don't appreciate that I do have a very, very full-on, full-time job. I'm not a journalist anymore. So this is happening through the night and at weekends. But most of the sleep when we're working on this project, and now the new. So I'm just absolutely eternally grateful to the guys who backed the project from the beginning, who saw that and stuck with me. I let you down in terms of the dates. I didn't hit my deadline, and
it's
cardinal sin. But to see the reaction from people when they're getting them. And now I have a message to everybody who's bought them, they haven't arrived yet, is stick with me. You'll be so happy when it comes. I'm so proud of it. I honestly, when I got that book, the bit that you don't see in the film of me when I first got the book is the tears in my eyes, because this is the book I always dreamed of putting out. So, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, throughout the whole process, every time there was a setback, we felt like we were a part of it. You know, it has been a amazing journey, and you know, I can probably speak on behalf of all the fans that we're really proud of you, and we're happy, and yeah, we just can't wait to get it in our hands, man. Like, I just can't wait.
Yeah, one of the great things for me as well is, as a journalist, I always had that distance. So I would watch I'd watch the gigs from the pit or from the stage, and I didn't really interact with people that much. And social media changed that for me. But the process of the book, I've ended up meeting some really great people, some really inspirational people, and actually, you know, some of the stories, like I said earlier on, have just completely changed my entire view of Prodigy, what they're about, and also the fans and what the fans are about. And it's quite an honour to actually have guys come to me and say, "Come for a drink." And there's a guy. I went into my local record shop. Now I live in a really small town outside Southampton, on the south coast of England. And there's a guy. I went into my local record shop. He said, "Just had this guy in here looking for you. He's a Prodigy fan. You live here." And I said, "Do you know Martin? He's from Germany or something. Do you know Martin James?" And he said, he didn't give them my address, but it was my immediate reaction was, "Oh God, stalker."
Yeah, cheers.
So I was like, you know, God, that's incredible. Somebody's come to see the Prodigy in Portsmouth. Looked at the map and gone, "That's just near Southampton. Martin James lives just near Southampton. I'm going to go and track him down and say hello." That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bought him a coffee.
Awesome.
So I'm meeting up with some guys before the Brighton gig next week.
Awesome.
Which would be nice, because I was supposed to be meeting up with a whole load of people at the gigs last Christmas. And I booked my hotel room as well and everything for the London gig. And sadly, my mum died, and so I couldn't go to any of the gigs. And I'll be honest, that also slowed the whole process down as well, because I couldn't focus on it because I had my own grief to deal with. And now, you know, it's there for everybody to see. She's a part of the process. There's a big dedication to her at the beginning of the book, and it is for her. And it's you know, one of the things that lifted me out of that grief were the Prodigy fans, and that sounds almost corny to say that, but I actually felt like I had a belief there. You know, they believed in the project, and so you know, the backers, amazing.
Yeah.
I've backed another person's book project, and I know how I feel. It's currently 4 years late. I don't know how I feel, but you know.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, that's pretty much all my questions. Is there anything I haven't covered? We sort of covered it all.
Yeah, I think we've covered it all. The November edition of DJ magazine.
Yeah.
I'm writing a 3,000 word feature on that, where it's a lot about the fans, and some of those fan stories that were sent to me are going into that.
Awesome.
So
I'll keep an eye out for that.
Right, because and it's all about how the whole thing about the fans has changed is that how the internet has created a much stronger global community. You know, the Warriors didn't exist before. The Amps didn't exist before, really. We'd meet people at gigs, people would meet up, but the level it is at now, the insane level of dedication, full body tattoos, that is beyond,
man.
you know,
It's crazy.
next level fan stuff there. And I'm just absolutely amazed with that. And I'm going to write an academic article about it as well.
Yeah. It's just it is next level. Like people call it, the prodigy of a religion. It's just a whole other level.
And I've got no tattoos. I was just joking to my friend earlier on that I think when I go into an old people's home, I might be the only guy in old people's home who hasn't got any tattoos. I'm going to go to the old people's home for old ravers, and we're all just going to sit there nodding our heads to beats because we would have forgotten everything anyway. We nod to beats, and I'll be the only one without tattoos.
Without a tattoo, yeah, true. All right, sweet. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thanks for doing this for the fans, for the book, this interview. Yeah, thanks for everything.
Cool. And one day when you're in the UK, give me a shout.
Yeah.
See you one day through here, or if I get over to you.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well, Danny, and the support you gave as well. You're doing those little short, small ads. I think young people call them memes, do they?
Oh, yeah.
That was really helpful. It really supported the campaign because it's difficult getting through to people.
That's all good.
Cool.
All right, so I guess I'll just stop recording.
I've got one statement before you go.
Oh, yeah.
One statement. Yeah. There's a rumour going around that I'm the lead singer in Elbow. I'm not.
Okay.
There you go.